Alright. Before you say anything, I know I'm really late to this, okay? I'm really late to talking about all this news. But with work and with how much stuff has been coming out about all of this, I felt like I should just wait because there's just too much to talk about. I might as well just group it all up in one thing, right? Instead of having a bunch of different videos about a bunch of different things, let's just put it all together. So as most of you may know at this point, Subnautica 2 has officially been delayed until 2026, which come on man, really? And the publishers, Krafton, the original founders, the original 3 that we talked about in the last Subnautica video, they're filing a lawsuit against Krafton now, so that's interesting. Now, before we get into all of this, let me just preface it by saying that everything in this video is gonna be like my personal opinions, my feelings towards all of this. Everything I say is gonna be basically speculation based off of just my personal beliefs, what I believe, and the information that Krafton and Unknown Worlds gives us through all of these updates that we've gotten. So let me say that again. This is all me, all right? Every like statement that I make about what's happening, it's all just me, all right? I'm not saying anything as fact. Everything is alleged accusations, you know? But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty of all of this, shall we? I did already make a video talking about like the whole leadership change thing with Ted, Charlie, and Max. I made a video talking about all that already, so I'm not gonna go over all of that. I do just want to talk about, you know, what I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I wanted to talk about the game's delay along with the lawsuit that has officially become public now. Quite a bit ago at this point, Krafton officially announced the delay of Subnautica 2 on a Bloomberg article. That's the original place that I could find it from. I don't know if it was anywhere else before that or anything like that, but this specific Bloomberg article is where I saw that Subnautica 2 was being delayed by Krafton themselves. And let me just emphasize that. I say Krafton specifically and not Unknown Worlds, all right? Let me just say that. And then shortly after that Bloomberg article came out, within the next like few hours or something like that, a gameplay trailer, a new gameplay trailer came out for Subnautica 2, which is a little interesting because we'll get into this in more detail a bit later. But the reason Krafton says that they delayed Subnautica 2 was because the game looked bad well, not necessarily looked bad, but they said they delayed it because of feedback from their, you know, test run of the game. So it's just interesting to me that they decide to release a gameplay trailer, which is supposed to, at least to me, like what I think gameplay trailers do, is supposed to show that the game is playable and good to almost release basically, yet it's being delayed by probably another year at this point. So I haven't actually it came out a while ago. I haven't actually watched this gameplay trailer yet. I don't know why. It's pretty short. I don't know why I haven't watched it yet, but I figure now that I'm doing all this, we might as well just pull it up here, right? All right, so it's not as short as I thought it was. I thought it was less than a minute long, but it's about a minute and a half long, which still isn't very long. But I guess, yeah, we can watch this, see how I just realized my camera unplugged and there's no tracking right now, so this might be a little cursed to look at. But yeah, we can go ahead and get into this gameplay trailer and see, I guess, what Krafton is talking about when they say that it's not finished yet. I guess, so let's do that. All right, yeah, without further ado, take a deep breath. Gameplay release, or reveal trailer, sorry. Let's go ahead. Yeah, there we go.
You will sleep through 14 years of flight to your new home on Zizura.
Okay. Oh, wait, space? Hold on, space? Hold on a second. Wait, space?
To your new home on Zizura.
Huh. I wonder if that's just a visual effect. Just going outside, or can we actually go to space?
Your new life begins.
All right, classic scanner. Oh, that's a weird looking fish. Okay, yeah, we've seen this dude before. Oh. Oh, that's real weird. Oh, that's real weird. Okay. Interesting. 4-player co-op, yep, we got that. Ooh, okay, no more hatches. Hey, keep calm kitty poster. Love that thing. I will say, I do miss the Sea Glide, but I feel like these things are gonna be also useful. You know, having your hands free while being able to do that. Okay, we got the, what I can, oh, never mind. Oh, it's a squid shark. Okay. Hey, I was gonna say it looked like a oxygen plant. Oh, you can ride it. Oh, that's cool. What the f? Okay, I looked away thinking I could be safe from what I just saw, but I looked over at my other monitor, which is recording what I'm watching right now. Oh, good. All right, I'm gonna have to take my glasses off for this one. Holy fuck, what is that? All right, I'm glad I took my glasses off because that was fucking horrifying. All right. I'm not gonna lie, it looked pretty done to me. Not, you know, done. Early access, yeah, there it is. Early access 2026, fucking. Oh boy, crafting. Look at him right there. Sorry. But yeah, that was, I don't know if I can go back to really look at it. It's, oh yeah, oh that's fun. Hey, dude. So, I don't like looking at it. All right, and this is a completely different thing. It looks, or that's what I assume, because it doesn't look the same as the thing that we just saw. Yeah, no, this is different. This is a different creature. Oh wait, is it? No. Maybe not. Because it's got the big glowing red at the top, and we saw that in the first gameplay, or the teaser trailer, whatever. Which I'm assuming this is the same creature from that trailer as well. I hate looking at it. I can't. I just don't like, if it was up during the day, I just don't like this. I don't like the empty void in the background. This I can deal with. That's whatever. Big monster creature. I don't like the ocean aspect of it. But yeah, so this is interesting because we're like going up to it. So is this a, maybe, I hate to say it, but is this possibly a friendly creature? Or is it kind of like a Cthulhu type thing where it's just luring us into, you know, make us subservient to, I don't know if I'm using that word correctly. I think I am, but make us subservient to it, I guess. But yeah, that's very cool, very cool. Again, it looked, I gotta say, it looked pretty good. Like, it looks like a lot of the, I just said like a lot, I feel really bad for that, I'm sorry, but, it looks like a lot of the gameplay elements are there. You know, the co-op, the traversal, it even seems like maybe some cutscenes or something. Yeah, it seems like a lot of gameplay mechanics are there, at least enough to release the game. Maybe that's just me. I don't know what Crafton sees in this that I'm not, or what I'm seeing in this that Crafton's not, apparently. But yeah, that's quite the interesting trailer, if I do say so myself. Again, looks great. The devs, great job. I'm not gonna lie, a few of the like equipment pieces are a bit odd, but I definitely think I'd be able to get used to them for sure. The fabricator looks interesting. It looks the same, but also different. I like it though. I like the smaller lasers. It makes it look more precise. You know what I mean? And then yeah, earlier I was gonna say I thought this looked like, I think I did say that. It looked like the oxygen plant, but then this motherfucker just goes and blows it up. Which I'm assuming this is maybe the new propulsion gun. And then again, just a squid shark. Like it's quite literally just a shorter squid shark. All right. Something interesting there. Okay. This is weird. I thought this was a player at first, but I think that's like a set piece. Maybe like an interactable NPC question mark? I don't know if maybe that's a thing that's gonna be in the game, but that's interesting. And then yeah, this big ass dude. Ooh. Hello. So yeah, again, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. I wonder what everyone's saying about it. Love the new levels of immersion. Yeah, everyone is just absolutely shitting on Crafton, which, you know, is deserved. Economical dead zone. Yeah. Love how united the comments are. Yeah, no, it's, please, Crafton, you guys fucking suck. Everyone is against you right now. I don't understand why you're still trying to defend yourself. Well, I do understand. They want to keep their money. I get it. It's 100% clear. They just want to keep their money and not give it to the devs. That makes sense. But they are getting so much backlash and so much flack for this that I don't understand how the PR is good for them. It's not. Maybe it is. What's the saying? Any attention is good attention. Any publicity is good publicity, I guess. I think that's the way Crafton's rolling right now. So yeah, there we go. That was the new gameplay trailer. Again, like I said, pretty interesting. So let's with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the rest of all of this information we have here. So going back to that Bloomberg article, Crafton states specifically that their delay to 2026 was not influenced by any contractual or financial considerations. They say that specifically in quotes. Now, me personally, that's absolute bullshit. I don't believe that. I don't think that's true. I also don't necessarily think it's illegal to lie about something like that. Maybe it is, and maybe Crafton might get fucked over for that. However, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's like defamatory or anything like that. So I think they'll be okay saying something like that. But yeah, again, I don't think that's true in any way, shape, or form. I think Crafton saw how close that deadline was getting, saw how pretty much finished the game was for early access, and then also saw that $250 million bonus slipping away, and they were just like, shit, dog, we need to get that back. Oh, by the way, I don't think I mentioned that yet. Yeah, it was recently brought to light that Unknown Worlds, there were a few comments about this in the gameplay trailer as well, but Unknown Worlds was promised when they originally got bought by Crafton. They were promised a $250 million bonus if they were to make a certain revenue goal by the end of 2025. Now that Subnautica 2 is delayed, I'm sure you can guess that that's probably not good news for that bonus. Now, I will say that of that 250 million, only 10% of that was reserved for only specific employees at the company, not even just everyone, only specific employees, while the other 90% was for the original founders, you know, the three, Ted, Max, and Charlie. The rest of that was for them. Now, the reason 10% was only for specific employees was because the original initial agreement didn't include people who got hired after the fact. So anyone that came in after 2021, after Crafton bought Unknown Worlds, they were not entitled to that bonus by the end of 2025, which sucks. But also at the same time, the original founders, the three, you know, I keep talking about it. I'm just gonna call them the three for the rest of this video just to make it a little easier, I guess. But they confirmed, they said publicly that they would have shared their 90% with the rest of the company, not just the specific employees, with the entire rest of the company. But yeah, I think I believe them when they say that. I don't think that was a lie in any way. Now, the exact amount they were going to share with them wasn't specified or anything, so you know, it could have been a substantially low amount, but I don't think it would have been. Now, going down more into the Bloomberg article, there's a statement from now CEO of Unknown Worlds. I talked about him in the last video as well, Steve Papoutsis. I think, I don't know if I said that correctly. I'm sorry if I didn't. But Steve says that the desire of Crafton is to have the very best version of Subnautica 2 available for its early access. So my question is, Why? Correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't the point of releasing a game in early access for it to not be perfect and for it to have issues and for those issues to be worked out through the early access life cycle? I could be wrong. Don't crucify me here. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's the whole point of saying a game is early access. You don't just say early access because you're pushing out an unfinished project or product that you know people are not gonna like, so you're just saying early access just to get away with it. No, Subnautica Unknown Worlds in the past has had a past of legitimate early access games, both of the Subnautica games. Those had great early accesses because they were early access. The game wasn't finished. It was barely finished. It was barely, I don't even know, halfway through. They had to rewrite the entirety of Below Zero because people didn't like how early access was. And I think that's what early access should be. It should be getting pretty much instant feedback from the general audience of people that want to play your game. It's getting that feedback from them so you know how to make your game better. It's not pushing out a game to see how people feel about it, but then ultimately kind of just go the same way you were going anyway, which is what I'm assuming Krafton is trying to do at this point. It's what it seems like they're trying to do. So yeah, again, maybe that's just me, but I don't see the point in trying to quote unquote perfect Subnautica 2 for early access. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. Just release the game in early access. That's the whole point. But whatever. I'm going on a tangent about that. It kind of pisses me off, but trust me, we'll get back to it later. In my last Subnautica video talking about the whole leadership change and all that, I was kind of throwing a little shade at Steve pretty much the whole time, I feel like. But after reading all of this, like pretty much everything that's come out since then, I genuinely think that this is just a case of the man just didn't know what he was getting himself into. I say that because in that same article, Steve told Bloomberg that he was not familiar with the specifics of the contract. So I think that Krafton just didn't tell him anything. Maybe not anything, but I think Krafton didn't tell him, I guess what Steve said, specifics of the Unknown Worlds and Krafton contract. Steve didn't know anything about what he was getting himself into. That's what it seems like this. And if that is the case, he definitely should have asked more. He should have inquired more about what was going on between them. I think he should have seen, I don't know, I feel like there probably should have been some red flags or something. I don't know. That's between him and Krafton, I guess. But I think maybe Steve just saw the job that he was getting and saw Unknown Worlds being so successful and was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. Krafton then goes on to accuse the original founders, of abandoning their responsibilities in order to work on other projects, including a film, leading to delays for the game. Now, I looked into this film they're talking about, at least I'm assuming, I can only guess this is the film they're talking about. And I gotta say, at least for Charlie, I can't tell. I don't think Max or Ted have anything to do with this, at least as far as I can tell. But at least for Charlie, it's not looking very good for him. They didn't name it specifically, but again, I'm assuming this film they're talking about is this new Christmas AI movie that Charlie's making with some other people, I guess. I don't know. It looks weird. Again, it looks pretty bad for Charlie if this is what happened, that Charlie just up and left Subnautica, like what Krafton said, just abandoned their responsibilities to go and make this movie, then yeah, Charlie's not in the best position right now. But I don't believe that. I'm just gonna throw my hat into the ring here. I don't think someone could see something they've put their entire life into become successful, and then them just to be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm out. I don't care anymore. I'm done. I don't see that being the case, at least for someone like Charlie. The way he's talked about the game in the past, He seems very, very passionate about what he does, and again, I just don't see him just up and leaving the game, and his, more specifically, his team. I don't see him leaving his team like that. I don't want to talk too much about this whole side project that Charlie has going on because this is a Subnautica video. I'm also kind of scared of what he's making, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I wanted to bring it up because Crafton did, but that was it. Let's move on. We are deeply disappointed by the former leadership's conduct, and above all, we feel a profound betrayal by their failure to honor the trust placed in them by our fans. Okay, so we're just completely changing our story now, huh? Like, is that what you're telling me, Crafton? I think that's what you're telling me. Because a bit ago, when the initial leadership change announcement came out, when you said that Steve was replacing the three, you told us that you guys sought to keep the Unknown World's co-founders and original creators, but then wished them well as you kicked them out the door. And to me, that says that you wanted, like, that original statement says that you guys wanted to keep them on, but maybe something happened, I don't know, maybe they didn't want to or something like that, so you ultimately decided to let them go. But now you're saying that they failed the trust placed in them, they failed to honor the trust placed in them by their fans. No, see, I think you guys are the ones doing that by firing the fucking team. Maybe that's just me. I think letting the team go and making them not able to work on the game anymore is what made fans upset. Not the fact that they left, but the fact that you guys kicked them out. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. Because again, I mean, it seems like you're telling us two different stories here. At first you're saying you wanted to keep them on, and now you're telling us how deeply disappointed you are by their conduct. So why would you want to keep them on in the first place if you know they were doing bad at their job? It just doesn't process for me. It just doesn't process for me. Now, before we get into the actual suit itself, I want to go over the little blog post that Charlie made on his website a little bit ago. You know, obviously before all of the details of the lawsuit came out. He doesn't give any specific details about what the lawsuit is about, but he does say that all three of the original founders are on board with it and that the details should eventually become public, which we'll get into that in a minute. He does also mention that he would never willingly abandon Subnautica the game or the team behind Subnautica, which goes back to what I was saying earlier. I believe that. I don't think this man would just leave, just up and leave because he wanted to go make a movie. Even if it looked like a good movie, even if it was, you know, high quality, not AI or anything like that, I don't think he would just leave. He would give time and he would announce before that he might be stepping away, but he wouldn't just leave, all right? And I don't know, I mean, he's been doing this for so long. It's been even before Subnautica came out, when they were doing stuff like when he was doing stuff like natural selection and all that. I mean, it's literally the man's life work. Life's work. There you go. It's the man's life's work. He's not just gonna leave it. I'm sorry, Crafton, but you're either lying to yourself or you're just lying directly to us. So, you know. So again, before we get into the actual lawsuit, an IGN article came out a bit before all of the details of the lawsuit. At least I think so. It's been a while at this point. But there's a couple new bits of lore in there that I wanted to go over. So the first big thing that really stands out to me is that Crafton claims that delaying Subnautica 2 until 2026 was already being talked about before the three founders were fired from their positions. Now, I don't doubt that that's true. I think talks were going on about delaying Subnautica 2, but here's the thing. I think they were only being talked about within Crafton and did not involve Unknown Worlds, or at least specifically, you know, the three founders. I don't know who else it would have included, but I think the talks were going on only at Crafton, and they specifically left out Unknown Worlds because they knew they would be upset that they were delaying it. Now, remember, Krafton is the publishers of the games. They are solely responsible for the game's release. And as we've seen in the past, the devs at Unknown Worlds, along with the original leadership team, and even Steve himself, says that the game was ready, or at least seemed ready, for early access. I say Steve himself as well because in the earlier Bloomberg article, there's a quote from him saying that the software everybody worked on is in a great spot and it felt like, hey, we should launch this. And then Krafton was just like, nope, fuck you. No, we're just not going to. The IGN article goes over the whole 250 million bonus again, saying that, you know, the 10% was going to the dev team and then the 90% was going to the founders, which we already know. Charlie has already, I'm sure all three of them have probably said publicly as well that they would have shared the money, you know, their 90% with the rest of the dev team. But I guess, you know, for the sake of playing devil's advocate here, we don't fully actually know if they would have done that. We don't know if maybe that was all just talk, if they just wouldn't have followed through with that and kept the 90% for themselves. I guess that could be possible. I don't believe that. There's no way in hell I don't think that would have happened. It's just not something I see happening. But, you know, for the sake of playing devil's advocate, I'll be on Krafton's side for a second. Oh, I hated saying that so much. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. This entire thing between Unknown Worlds and Krafton at this point is just a bunch of he said, she said. Because at the end of the day, nothing either of the companies have said, you know, against each other, like the accusations against each other, have been fully proven, at least as far as I can tell. If anyone has any of like the solid proof, if any of this has actually happened, then please let me know. I know there's obviously things that they, you know, both parties have agreed exist, like the $250 million bonus, and then we're gonna talk about in a second that they Krafton actually had the chance to extend their bonus deadline, which they did do, so that's a huge W for Unknown Worlds. But yeah, aside from the stuff that is mutually agreed upon by both parties, nothing either of them have said has been fully 100% proven to have happened. None of the, you know, like, I guess talks, if Krafton is saying that they did have talks with Unknown World about the delay, that hasn't been proven. Unknown Worlds, at least as far as I can tell, they have not said that Krafton, you know, they were talking with Krafton about delaying the game. As from what I've seen, everyone at Unknown Worlds, again, even Steve himself, says that the game was ready and that it didn't need to be delayed. But moving on, there's a lot about that. I've seen a lot of this going around, not just in this article, not just in this IGN article, not just in news articles in general, but all over the internet, all over Reddit, all over YouTube comments. I've been seeing people trying to boycott Subnautica 2 now. And while I agree with the sentiment that I'm hearing that it's, you know, it's to fuck over Krafton, it's not the best idea. It's really not, guys. Like, hear me out, okay? Before you close the video, like if you were a supporter of the boycott, before you close off this video or before you leave a weird comment or something like that, let me just say, think of it this way. If the game gets a massive boycott, yes, obviously Krafton is not going to make as much money as they had originally wanted from the game. But neither is Unknown Worlds as well. They are going to be missing out on a lot because, again, if the game gets a boycott, we've already seen that their deadline for the bonus has been extended. So if people boycott the game and it doesn't make any profits, A, they're not gonna make any profits in the first place, and B, they probably won't, they most likely, if people boycott the game, they will not make that bonus. But the fact that it's been extended now, there is a maybe not a very high chance, but there is a good chance that they could get that bonus at this point. So again, I don't think the whole Subnautica 2 boycott is a good idea. Sure, you know, buying the game gives Krafton more money. It gives the greedy corporation more money because, you know, they're going to be taking a majority of that profit from the game. Barely any of it is going to be going to Unknown Worlds. I bet, you know, I'm just saying, I bet that's probably what's going to happen. I don't know their deal. I don't know their agreement between releasing games or whatever. But yes, I know that Krafton is going to be making a lot of that money. Boycotting the game is not going to just affect Krafton. It will also mean Unknown Worlds pretty much just can't make more games in the future anyway, because if the game goes under, the devs don't have any funding anymore, so they can't do anything. So again, think about it. You know, I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, the game's gonna be shit now because Krafton's in control of it. Krafton has been in control of it since 2021. I trust the developers. I trust Unknown Worlds. They're the ones making the game. Krafton just is guiding them on the timeline, the deadlines and all of that. They're not the ones actually developing the game. So I am putting my faith in Unknown Worlds. I've said this before, I will still be buying the game. I'm still going to be playing it when it comes out. I want to support the developers. I think the only way for them to get what they deserve is to just buy and play the game. Think of it like this. It's a win-win situation for Krafton. Either way, they're gonna be making a shit ton of money. There's only one way for the devs to win, and that's for the game to not be boycotted like that. Realistically, I know the game is still going to make a lot of money anyway, but it's gonna be a hell of a lot less if, you know, all of these, because I've been seeing a lot, trust me, I've been seeing a lot of people trying to boycott this game, and I just don't think it's a good idea. The next part of this article links to a Reddit thread with, I think it's the top comment by Riding a Rhino, saying no person is going to resist pushing out a subpar product that isn't ready when they're staring $250 million in the face. And yeah, I mean, I agree with that. There's like $250 million is a very good incentive for anyone to just finish anything and just shit it out, basically. But here's like, with as much time as Unknown Worlds has gotten at this point to make this game, and again, the game is coming out in early access. It's not a full release, so it being bugged and glitchy is to be expected. It's coming out in early access. Unknown Worlds has had enough time with the game. They've had enough time with games in the past over a decade. I trust them. I've said this before. I will keep saying it. I trust Unknown Worlds' judgment on this game. I do not think the game will be bad. Sure, Subnautica 1 will most likely always be the best one. I don't think it's going to be better than Subnautica 1. I don't really know if it's going to be better than Below Zero, but I don't think it's going to be bad, all right? That's what I'm trying to say here. And again, reading through these Reddit comments and reading through just comments in general on anything, I get the feeling that people just don't know what early access means. And I know oh no, wait, have I been peeking this whole time? Hold on. I have been peeking a little bit. All right, I'm sorry. Okay, I just realized that my mic has kind of been peaking a little bit throughout the video. Hopefully I can fix that a little bit in post. But yeah, sorry for being super loud. But yeah, it's just insane to me that it just feels like people aren't understanding what they're reading. The game is early access. It's coming out in early access. It's not supposed to be finished. It's, you know, ideally it shouldn't have like a whole bunch of bugs in it or anything like that, but it's going to have bugs. It's going to have glitches in it. Sure, yeah, there needs to be standards that it has to be held to. It can't just be a completely broken mess like, let's say Cyberpunk was when that came out. It can't be something like that because that was, I mean, that was bad. The game was a full release and it looked like that. But again, just with the amount of time and with the amount of games that Unknown Worlds has made in the past, and with the quality of games that they've made in the past, I don't think that would have happened. Okay, so the rest of the IGN article is just more Reddit comments, and I'm not going over all of those. So let's finally get into the public lawsuit that we have. This lawsuit is 58 pages long, and there's a lot of just like background information and reading and stuff like that. So I'm gonna be just picking a few things to go over. Obviously, we're not gonna be going over the whole thing. A good chunk of this whole beginning part is just a bunch of like background history of the companies. So we're gonna go ahead and start down here. Not only do they enhance our development capabilities, but we share a goal of creating unique experiences for global audiences. In creating these unique experiences, Kim wanted Cleveland to develop Subnautica's franchise IP with cross-media expansion beyond the game. So this is something that I think is kind of subtly hinted at throughout this entire document, is that there's things that say Crafton wanted or Kim wanted, stuff like that, which is weird because it never really seems like an agreement between the two parties, you know? It always just seems like, yeah, Crafton wanted us to do this and they're our boss, so I guess we had to do it. Stuff like that. So it's just interesting. It's weird to me, you know. Again, like I said, subtly hinted at. It could be nothing, but I've seen a lot of that. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure Charlie also wanted to, you know, like expand his horizons a little bit. But here's the thing: the way Charlie wanted to expand, the way the original founders wanted to expand, was most likely to just be more creative and have fun with what they're doing. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Crafton is over here wanting more franchise IP because it will make them more money. Also, little side note here, I'm gonna go off on a little tangent, but can I just say that a Subnautica show or movie would go so hard, at least for the first game. I don't know about Below Zero, or obviously, you know, I don't know about 2, but the first game, it's just, I feel like a show or a movie would go hard, you know? Personally, to me, I think specific games can really only be made into like one thing. Kind of like how The Last of Us and Fallout were adapted into shows, and stuff like Mario and FNAF were made into movies. What I'm trying to say is, at least personally, I think adaptations for, I guess, specific games are really only good as a show or a movie. They can't really be good as both. So take what I just said and completely throw it in the trash while we're talking about Subnautica. I genuinely think that game could go either way and it would be really good. You know, given it's made by the right people, of course. So going back to what I said a little bit earlier, in the original EPA, or, you know, Equity Purchase Agreement, which is the purchase agreement between Crafton and Unknown Worlds back in 2021, in that agreement, there is the option to extend their bonus earnout period until June of next year, which is, I guess at the time that this came out, or that, you know, all of this was happening, was pretty much a full year. So that's kind of insane. And yeah, like I said earlier, Crafton has already confirmed that they are going to be extending it. I don't know if they're going to be extending it, you know, to the final deadline until June 2026, or if it's gonna be just until like maybe early 2026 or something like that. I don't know. I also don't know. We still don't have a date for the game yet. It's still just a year. So who knows? They could extend the earned out period until June, and the game might come out like late May or something like that. And either way, Unknown Worlds loses and Crafton fucks them over. So that's something that could happen. I wouldn't put it past them to do something like that, but who knows? Again, I'm not going to be going over this entire thing because it's just way too long. So if you do want to go and look over the whole lawsuit for yourself, I will leave a link to it in the description, as well as all of my other sources that I've been using throughout this video. So if you want to go do a little research on your own, look into it on your own, go ahead. I will be leaving everything down there. But with that being said, this is going to be the last part that I talk about, because this section that I want to touch on is a bit long in itself. So this is going to be pretty much the end of the video here. So from paragraph 83 all the way down to 90, the whole part talks about how the former CEO of Unknown Worlds, of course being Ted Gill, was trying to find a way for all of the employees at Unknown Worlds to get, you know, to be able to receive that $250 million bonus. Because, you know, like I said earlier, it doesn't seem like anyone hired after the fact, after the original acquisition by Crafton, it doesn't seem like anyone hired after that was entitled to that bonus. So Ted Gill was trying to figure out how to make that possible. And then a few lines later, it mentions that after Crafton heard Ted Gill trying to negotiate for the rest of the employees, Krafton seemingly changed how they interacted with Unknown Worlds. It was really weird. After Krafton's US branch got back into the States after working out all the marketing for Subnautica 2, they told, you know, the original 3 founders that it seemed like Krafton was trying to find a way to legally remove the original 3 from their positions without having any repercussions from, you know, Krafton. There's also a mention of Krafton actively trying to convince Unknown Worlds to delay the game. Now, if all of this is true, that Krafton was actively trying to remove the founders without having any, you know, fallback on them, I don't know how this is possible, but it makes Krafton look a lot worse than they already do. Obviously, you know, if this is all true and they did actually find a legal way in the contract to remove them, then, you know, clearly there's nothing that anyone can do about that. They did it legally. There's no repercussions that they can face about that. The only thing that they'd have to face is the backlash from the community, which they've already proven they don't give a shit about. So again, there's nothing anyone can do at this point if they did do all of that 100% legally and by the book. It sucks, but there's just nothing. I'll be honest, this is going on for I've been recording for almost an hour and a half. This is going on for so long. I really do want to talk about this, but I really do want to talk about this more. But again, it's going on so long, so I don't know if I can continue at this point. That being said, there is a bit more information that I want to talk about, not about the lawsuit, but just about, you know, everything happening in general. There's something else I wanted to mention that I think could have a really big impact on all of this, at least maybe sometime in the future. So, in the midst of all of this happening, Krafton decided, hey, you know what? Fuck it, maybe we should buy another dev company. So that's what they did. They, the team behind the game The Last Epoch, which I know nothing about, I didn't know it existed before any of this, but the team behind that 11th Hour Games was sold, they sold to Krafton for $96 million. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel really bad for them. I think this is the only game that dev team has made, so it is a little different from when Krafton bought Unknown Worlds, but $96 million with all of the shit that's happening with Unknown Worlds right now, I don't know, man. 11th Hour, I don't know what you guys were smoking when you decided to do this, but I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. Now, don't get me wrong. Nobody deserves to be treated like how Unknown Worlds is being treated by Krafton right now. But I feel like there's just no way that they didn't know about everything that was going on with Unknown Worlds right now. And they still sold to Krafton. So that tells me that they just, like, they know what's going on, but they just didn't bother to really look into it because maybe they just needed the publishing company or something like that. They needed, I don't know, maybe the funding. I don't know. I really don't know anything about this company or what they're doing with Krafton, but I can't see how they looked at everything happening and were just like, yeah, no, that seems fine. I think we'll be okay. I say all this, I say this, that they might not have looked into any of this at all, because in a comment from the founder of 11th Hour himself, he said that Krafton wasn't looking to change anything about their, you know, team, and that their goals were aligned with 11th Hour's. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but that's quite literally the same thing Krafton told Unknown Worlds when they were bought in 2021. Like, I feel like, I mean, I'm not reading it right now, I don't know exactly what it said, but I feel like it's almost word for word. They weren't gonna change anything about the dev team, and that their goals were aligned with the dev teams, which, as we've seen, you know, now from Subnautica, clearly not the case. The whole letting devs keep creative control bit is actual BS, because at the end of the day, Krafton are the publishers. They're the ones making all the big decisions about what needs to be in the game for launch, and even just when the game launches in general. So it just doesn't make sense. Like it just doesn't work. As for the whole goals being aligned thing, that it's just a straight up lie. We all know Krafton just wants to make money off of other dev teams. They don't want to do any actual work themselves. They just want the money that comes from making games. Meanwhile, these small indie devs, maybe not so small anymore, but these dev teams actually want to make games for the fun and for the love of making games. I do feel really bad for 11th Hour because like sure right now and even for the next few years everything's probably gonna be fine for them, but at some point Krafton will probably try to do the same thing they've done. It depends how 11th Hour does. It depends what kind of games they make and if people, you know, are big fans of them or not. But I feel bad for them because if they do take off like that, because again, they only have one game right now, but if they do make more and take off like that, Krafton's just gonna try to take over again. Obviously, we don't know anything about like all of the private documentation and all that about their acquisition, about the actual acquisition between 11th Hour and Krafton, but I can only assume that at this point, Krafton learned from their mistakes and didn't include a revenue bonus or anything like that, just to avoid all this trouble later in the future. Okay, so with all of that being said, I think I am finally gonna end this video. Like I said before, it's been going on for way too fucking long. I just want to get this over with. I've been putting this off for too long. It's you know, with work and all of that, it's just a lot, okay? I'm sorry. I still have to go through and edit all of this too, so it's still gonna take a while. But yeah, I think I am just gonna go ahead and end it off here. I know, like I said, a lot of people are boycotting the game, which again, I think is not the best interest. It's not in the best interest for Unknown Worlds. I get it, but I also am just not gonna be doing it. I'm still going to be playing the game when it comes out. I'm still going to be supporting the devs for all their hard work because they deserve it. They really do. Krafton does not. I get it. Krafton doesn't support, or Krafton doesn't deserve any of anybody's support, but the devs do. And the only way for the devs to get that is to play the game, is to buy the game. And hopefully, if, you know, the founders, the original 3 founders, if they win this lawsuit, they will also give, you know, they will share their winnings from the lawsuit with the dev team as well, which is something that Charlie has also confirmed in a public post. So again, you know, with all that being said, that's gonna do it. That's gonna be it for all the Subnautica news I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed sitting here going over all of this with me, sitting here listening to me talk for, I don't know how long this is gonna be edited down. It's been an hour and a half for me, so I'm sorry that it's so long. But if you made it this far, thank you. Let me know any of your comments or concerns or just anything you want to say about any of this. I would love to hear other people's opinions about all of this. I would love to hear opposing opinions. I would love to know if people agree with me about some of this, about maybe the boycott or something like that. But yeah, again, like I said, that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for all the Subnautica 2 today. If you guys enjoyed and you're excited for some more, if you're excited for the game like I am when that comes out, you can let me know by dropping a like and smashing that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.